Angry and afraid, Afghanistan's LGBTQ community say they're being hunted down after Taliban takeover despite being born in a country with a long history of discrimination against its LGBTQ people. Balkhi's family accepted her as a lesbian. Now Balkhi says that rare acceptance has put all their lives at risk, as the new Taliban leadership in Kabul unleashes a wave of physical violence and fear on Afghanistan's gay, lesbian and transgender population. Balkhi said one gay man in her neighborhood had been raped after being found by the Taliban, but all said they feel abandoned by the international community, with evacuation flights out of the country now finished and the Taliban pushing to normalize relations with Western nations. LGBTQ people say they need help to escape Taliban fighters before they are discovered and forced to face the new regime's brutal laws. Prejudice resurgent even before the Taliban took power in August. Life wasn't easy for LGBTQ people in Afghanistan. A 2020 U.S. State Department report on Afghanistan said LGBTQ people faced discrimination, assault and rape, as well as harassment and arrest by authorities. Homosexuality was widely seen as taboo and indecent, the report said.
Under the previous government, sexual relations between people of the same gender were legal and punishable by up to 2 years in jail. Those laws were not always enforced, but they did leave LGBTQ people open to extortion and abuse by authorities, according to a UK government report published in 2013. Mehmet Sadat, an LGBTQ Afghan author who lives in the United States, said the country's gay, lesbian and transgender citizens had helped the country's cultural life flourish in the 20 years since the Taliban's last rule dominated the makeup industry and worked as makeup artists. There were concerts and fashion shows, and all of this was dominated by the LGBTQ community, he said. Balkhi said for a while she had a girlfriend, who she was able to see secretly on weekends. Hilal, a 25-year-old gay man, said he used to have a boyfriend and had even worked openly to advocate for LGBTQ rights in Afghanistan.Now in hiding. Hilal said few predicted how fast the situation in Afghanistan would deteriorate. We couldn't imagine that the government would collapse so quickly, he said. Living in fear after the Taliban took charge, Balkhi said being a woman had effectively ended her dreams of finishing her university studies in Afghanistan. As a lesbian, she faces an even graver threat. In an interview with Reuters in August, one of the Taliban's top decision-makers, Wahidullah Hashimi, said under the fundamentalist group the country would be governed by Sharia law, and it is it. Under the Taliban's interpretation of Sharia law, homosexuality can be punished by death. Balkhi said when she and her family heard the Taliban had entered the city, they went into hiding, leaving their home in Kabul and moving to a new secret location to escape detection. The Taliban have exact information about every family here, she said. Balkhi fears her family could be attacked or killed for knowingly hiding an LGBTQ person. Unable to sleep out of fear of being discovered, she said she is worried if the Taliban find her, they will stone her to death for being a lesbian. A week ago, Hassan got a phone call from an unknown number that he said implied he was being targeted for being LGBTQ. When Hassan asked who was calling, a man's voice replied, "Do not talk too much, we will find you wherever you are," Hassan said. He has since changed his number. Hilal, who used to advocate for LGBTQ Afghans, said men came around to his family's house asking for him shortly after Kabul fell. They made threats to my brother, and they said to him that if I return home, they will kill me, he said. For 3 weeks, Hilal has been hiding in the basement of a friend's house. The former university student said he has no money, little food, and has accepted he may never be able to go back to his family's home. We are LGBT. It is not our fault. It has been written as such in my destiny, in my spirit. No one can change this. All they can do is to kill me, Hilal said. Abandoned and angry, the US and its allies raced to evacuate thousands of people from Kabul's Hamid Karzai International Airport before the withdrawal deadline of August 31. Most people said they didn't know anyone who had managed to get out. Hilal, the LGBTQ activist, said he was furious at the US government and other Western countries who he felt had abandoned him and other gay, lesbian and transgender Afghans. Journalists, women's rights activists, or those who worked with foreigners, they were removed, but nothing has been done for us, he said. We will definitely be killed. We are asking to evacuate it immediately from Afghanistan. Rainbow Railroad is an NGO which helps LGBTQ people around the world escape persecution. Executive Director Kimali Powell said evacuating LGBTQ people from Afghanistan was especially hard as they were often alone, in hiding and unable to contact each other. Many of the evacuations have been families or large communities, and that's been harder for LGBTQ communities, he said. Powell said he believed routes out of Afghanistan are available to extract LGBTQ people, but he said Rainbow Railroad's focus now is on reaching people most at risk. What the Taliban takeover looks like around access to borders and access to migration, but we're committed to trying to find pathways to keep people safe and get people out, he said. God built us like this. Ritu Mahendru, a human rights advocate with more than 10 years' experience working in Afghanistan, said at least one transgender woman had told her she was growing out her beard and dressing like a man to avoid attracting attention. And a 25-year-old gender non-conforming gay person said they had tried to appear more masculine, but a Taliban fighter beat them with a plastic pipe when they were seen walking in a street. He cursed me, and he said, "Don't you know how to walk like a man?" the 25-year-old said. Last month she and her family wore chadras to Kabul airport, hoping to board an evacuation flight out, but they were pushed back by the Taliban. Balkhi said they were told that no Afghans were allowed to enter the airport, and when they tried to press the point, they were threatened with whips until they left. "I don't know if I can get out of here, but I know I can't live here with this situation," she said. Others are dropping out of contact. Sadat said every day he is losing touch with more and more LGBTQ people on his list, as he struggles to try to find a way to get them out of Afghanistan. "I'm not sure if they're dead or they escaped out of the country and unable to receive my calls. A lot of LGBTQ Afghans are losing hope and telling me they are begging for food or starving," he said. "It's unclear how long they will have to wait."
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe